The 10 hardest things in the world to transport. A 100-meter-long wind turbine blade is just the beginner level, while the number one spot is completely outrageous. Just moving it a little already costs as much as $200,000. In this era of technological explosion, someone has managed to shift an entire building dozens of meters, while someone else could move a whole mountain in just 3 days. But the things we're about to see are so impossible that even a god would say, no way. From a 27-ton steel coil, where every second the truck driver is gambling with his life, to propane that took 33 hours to move across just 6 kilometers, even requiring bridges to be dismantled and power lines rerouted, the process was so insane it felt like relocating an entire city. Then there's the propane-propylene separation tower, and that US gold vault weighing 4,600 tons, worth more than $420 billion. The gold bars might be yours, but even if you want to peek, security will just laugh and say, no access. In this episode, join Global Sins as we dive into the 10 hardest things in the world to transport, each one tougher than the last. We look forward to your subscription and silent thumbs up. Number 10. A massive wind turbine blade slowly approaches before your eyes, stretching over 100 meters long. Soon, it will pass along highways and railways before finally being hauled up to the roof of the world, the Qinghai Tibet Plateau. Just how are such enormous blades delivered into the mountains? As we all know, with the demand for wind power rising, the blades have been getting longer and longer. From the original 60-70 meters, now they exceed 100 meters. Stand one upright and it's nearly as tall as a 33-story building. In real life, it's an absolute giant. The longer the blade, the greater the power it can generate. But transporting it is a true hell-level challenge. Over 90 meters of the blade hangs freely in the air. If the transport truck sways even slightly, the blade's tail can whip side to side by 7 or 8 meters, like a dragon lashing its tail. One mistake, and it could cause devastating damage to people or buildings nearby. A $1 million blade could be scrapped instantly. This is no joke. Hauling it is absolutely a high-skill job. Many might ask, why not just cut it into sections for transport? That's because once the blade is segmented, its overall strength is badly compromised. When it spins, the joints may not withstand the stress and could snap. And when that happens, the flying blade would cause catastrophic destruction wherever it lands. To transport a turbine blade safely, every detail must be planned in advance. Professional crews first clear every obstacle on the route. Any factor that could block the way has to be completely removed. Large turbine blades require special purpose transport vehicles. The front end of the rig is designed to secure the blade, while the tail is fixed on a mobile frame that allows 360-degree rotation and tilting of more than 60 degrees. It also lets crews adjust the blade's height to lift it over obstacles in special areas. The rig's wheels can rotate 180 degrees, so the direction can be corrected instantly if something blocks the way. And you think the prep ends there? Of course not. For a blade this huge, a large support team is essential. Besides the truck driver, there are technicians operating the steering system and escorts along the route. When the convoy sets off with the blade in tow, the scene is absolutely breathtaking. I'd bet 98% of people have never witnessed it. On the highway, the transport is still relatively smooth, but the hardest part is the climb into the mountains. On those steep roads, the entire blade is almost hanging in the air, with a huge downward force pressing on the rear. The truck can barely move forward. At this point, a powerful tractor has to be dispatched just to pull the rig up the mountain. And yet, this is only the beginning. The mountain roads are rugged and treacherous. Every step feels like crossing a deadly trial. Whenever they encounter a curve, every single worker must hold their breath and stay laser-focused. A turn that an ordinary car could handle in 3 seconds might take them 10 minutes or even half an hour. Inner curves are the toughest. The operators must first lift the blade at exactly the right moment, while the steering crew carefully adjusts the angle to squeeze through. For larger outer curves, the blade has to be lowered to reduce swaying. Every single action demands absolute precision and teamwork. One mistake could mean total disaster. From the earliest preparations to the slow and cautious journey to inching around each dangerous bend, that colossal blade is eventually delivered to the mountaintop. Some are even hauled up to the roof of the world, the Qinghai Tibet Plateau. When those 100-meter-long blades begin turning high above the mountains, they symbolize not only the progress of global energy, but also the hopes of every power engineer who made it possible. To them, we owe our respect. Number 9. The propane-propylene separation tower. To transport this towering giant weighing 2,600 tons, local authorities mobilized hundreds of people, reclaimed 400 acres of land, rerouted 23 high and low voltage power lines, and even tore down and rebuilt toll stations. It truly lived up to the saying, cutting through mountains, bridging over rivers. This was a landmark achievement in the history of heavy transport. This was the largest propane-propylene separation tower in the world. 138.6 meters long, 10.8 meters in diameter, with enough interior space to hold 1,000 cars, and a weight of 558 tons. Standing upright, it would be as tall as a 50-story building. From a distance, it looked like a gigantic cannon, commanding attention from everyone who saw it. Even more impressive, its construction cost nearly $100 million, and its transportation alone cost $50 million. It was shipped from Ningbo, Zhejiang to Yantai, Shandong, a total land journey of only 6.8 kilometers, but it still took 33 hours to complete. To guarantee safety, the company in charge spent half a year preparing in advance, even demolishing facilities to clear the way. 1 month before the move, the transport teams worked around the clock, building wider roads, reinforcing bridges, and removing every obstacle on the route. The most crucial piece of equipment was the flatbed transport vehicle. Each wheel could bear up to 30 tons, rotate a full 360 degrees, and the modules could be combined freely depending on the mission. Official data showed it could handle up to 50,000 tons, earning it the title of the most powerful land transport machine on Earth. Using it to move the largest separation tower in the world was the perfect choice. Escorted by police and with advanced crews clearing the road, the journey looked like a massive ant colony carrying away food spectacular and unforgettable. From the earliest preparations to the final delivery, the entire process could take a year or longer. By the time the tower reached its destination, everyone must have breathed a sigh of relief. It was so difficult, no one ever wanted to do it again. Number 8. Rockets. The towering giant approaching is one of Elon Musk's SpaceX rockets, and beneath it is the vehicle built to move it, the largest modular transporter in the world. You might wonder, why doesn't such a massive vehicle have a cab in the front? The reason is that it's a modular flatbed transporter, also known as an R3 Pint heavy-duty trailer. It's made up of multiple modules that can be combined to carry enormous and extremely heavy loads. Its advantage lies in flexibility. Depending on the cargo's weight and size, it can be configured differently to meet the challenge. The whole system doesn't even require direct human driving. Instead, it's operated through computer terminals and remote control, reducing human error. Another highlight is its massive wheels, which keep balance and can rotate freely for 360-degree maneuvering. Turning or adjusting position is never a problem. The largest of these flatbed transporters in the world can be fitted with up to 1,152 wheels. With such a configuration, carrying a rocket is more than manageable. Beyond flatbed vehicles, another widely used method is the crawler transporter. Its appearance resembles a giant reptile, which is why it's nicknamed the crawler. This vehicle is 40 meters long, 35 meters wide, and can adjust its height between 6 and 8 meters. Its platform is as large as a football field, weighing 2,800 tons, with a maximum load of 11,000 tons. Today, it remains one of the main vehicles used for transporting rockets and space shuttles. It was born in 1965, built by the Marion Power Shovel Company of the United States, specifically for NASA. Back then, the cost of this vehicle exceeded $20 million, making it one of the most expensive machines of its time. Delivered to the Kennedy Space Center, it was immediately given its greatest mission, transporting the Saturn V rocket from the assembly building to the launch pad. The Saturn V stood 116 meters tall with a diameter of more than 10 meters and weighed nearly 3,000 tons, one of the largest rockets in human spaceflight history. To carry such a giant, the crawler transporter was equipped with 8 massive crawler tracks powered by 2 V16 turbocharged diesel engines with a maximum output of 2,050 kilowatts. From the assembly center to the launch pad was only 5 kilometers, but even that short distance took around 3 hours to complete. If the launch of a rocket is breathtaking to watch, the transportation behind it is equally daunting. In moments like these, human wisdom and perseverance shine at their fullest. Number 7. Reindeer. Before you is a group of these gentle creatures happily playing on the land until suddenly their herders drive them into the icy sea. They bob helplessly in the crashing waves, but this has to be done. Every October, Norway's forests wither, soon buried beneath snow and ice, leaving no food behind. If the reindeer stayed, it would mean certain death. To survive, they must be relocated 400 kilometers away to winter pastures, where endless grass and a milder climate await. But moving them is no simple task, because a 5-kilometer wide strait blocks the way. The freezing seawater is far from welcoming, and reindeer certainly don't understand human commands. Crossing peacefully is impossible. A young Sami girl named Amy, born into a family of traditional reindeer herders and trained at the Royal Reindeer Academy, is tasked with this grueling mission. Together with her companions, she uses long sheets of cloth to drive the herd toward the water. Chaos erupts instantly. The reindeer scatter wildly, and one wrong move could injure a handler. Luckily, the Sami people have generations of experience. Slowly, with patience, they begin to guide the herd. The most experienced reindeer leap bravely into the water, unafraid of the challenge. The hardest ones are those facing the sea for the first time, circling the shore in panic, refusing to enter. In the end, the Sami herders must force them in, pushing with long cloths until the animals plunge into the near-freezing water. For most creatures, such cold would be fatal, but the reindeer's thick skin and dense fur insulate them against the elements. The only real danger is whether the pounding waves might drag them under. Amy watches anxiously from a boat, her face tense. She must ensure every reindeer makes it across safely. Any that are injured must be rescued immediately. The process is nothing short of nerve-wracking. She dares not relax for even a second. The herd itself seems to understand its mission. After nearly 2 hours of struggle, the reindeer finally reach the opposite shore. Only then does Amy breathe a sigh of relief. Now, the herd no longer faces hunger or cold. They can roam freely on the new land. Though no machines or tools were used in this migration, the difficulty was epic in scale. And through it, the reindeer proved their incredible ability to adapt to the forces of nature. Number 6. Cattle. Do you know how imported cows are actually transported? This international shipping company received a massive order. Within 3 days, they had to deliver 20,000 head of cattle by sea to China. The total value of the shipment was over $13 million. Completing this job would not only bring huge profits, but also boost the company's reputation worldwide. But moving 20,000 cows across the ocean while keeping them healthy until they reach their buyers is no simple task. First, they must be loaded onto trucks at the ranch. After being loaded onto trucks, the cattle are transported to the port, but moving them is no easy task. Unlike people, cows can't communicate or follow instructions, and they refuse to cooperate. On the road, the drivers must keep their speed steady. Too fast or too much swaying, and the animals become stressed or sick. In truth, hauling cattle is often harder than hauling people. Even with all their caution, problems still arise. Just as the convoy neared the port, loading operations suddenly stalled for unknown reasons. 18 massive trucks, each carrying 200 head of cattle, were left stuck on the road for 2 hours. This wasn't just cargo waiting idly, these were living animals. And without food or water, their condition quickly became critical. The drivers feared that if they delayed any longer, not only would they miss the shipping schedule, but they could lose a significant portion of the herd. In the end, they had no choice but to turn back, wasting an entire day. It was a crushing setback. Learning from this, the team decided never again to send all the cattle at once. Instead, they broke the herd into smaller groups for staggered transport. Thanks to this adjustment, by the fourth day, all of the cattle were finally loaded onto the cargo vessel. The ship itself was enormous, 180 meters long, like a modern-day Noah's Ark. Inside, thousands of cows stood quietly, gazing at the endless sea, as if pondering the journey ahead. For the crew, however, the hard work had only just begun. Every day before boarding, the vessel had to be thoroughly disinfected, cleaned with more care than one would give their own home. Once at sea, the cattle consumed nearly 300 tons of feed and 500,000 liters of fresh water each day. To supply this, the ship was equipped with advanced seawater desalination systems. The food storage alone spanned 2 full decks, an impressive sight in itself. Meanwhile, veterinarians constantly monitored the animal's health, while workers checked the herd count and adjusted environmental conditions. Finally, after days of meticulous care, the cattle reached port safely and were delivered to the buyers. Watching this process, one can't help but marvel. No wonder imported food is so expensive. The effort behind it is truly immense. Number 5. Steel coils. Watch closely. A massive roll of steel suddenly tumbles from a train and barrels down the track, sending bystanders fleeing in terror. Some reckless men may try to stop it, but everyone around shouts at them to stand back. It's not a matter of bravery. With the speed and weight of a steel coil, no human could ever stop it. Anyone who tries pays with their life. Why is hauling steel coils considered one of the most dangerous jobs in transportation? Why do drivers shudder at the mere mention of it? First, the coil's cylindrical shape makes them nearly impossible to secure firmly. If not restrained perfectly, they shift. A single coil can weigh up to 27 tons, the equivalent of 15 SUVs. Imagine the destruction if that mass breaks loose. If it crashes into the truck cab, the driver has no chance. If it careens off the road, it can crush anything in its path, from buildings to pedestrians. Truly, it's a killer on wheels. These days, special grooved frames and heavy steel chains are used to keep coils in place. But even that isn't foolproof. The rule is simple. If you ever see a steel coil truck on the highway, stay as far away as possible. Number 4. Magnets. Before you is a colossal magnet weighing 320 tons, measuring 17.7 meters long and 3.6 meters high. It has just arrived in Cadarache, southern France, after a long journey from Italy by land and sea. As a vital component of a nuclear reactor, this giant magnet carries extraordinary importance and must be delivered to the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor immediately. The total weight of the shipment exceeded 600 tons, and regulations required the convoy to complete its 103-kilometer journey in 4 nights. The challenge? The magnet wasn't just massive and heavy, it was extremely fragile. Even the slightest jolt could damage it beyond repair. To safeguard it, engineers installed shock indicators that triggered alarms whenever excessive force was detected, turning a white liquid to red. Additional sensors continuously monitored the magnet's internal condition. For the move, they used a giant self-propelled modular transporter, 18 axles, 288 wheels, and powered not only by 2 300 horsepower engines, but also assisted by 2 600 horsepower trucks towing from the front. To ensure nothing went wrong, the massive transporter could only move with extreme caution. But how could a vehicle this large ever travel smoothly on public roads? To avoid disturbing civilians, convoys usually set off at night, escorted by more than 100 personnel. Along the way, any houses, power lines, or other obstacles in the way had to be dismantled. When faced with a sharp turn of more than 90 degrees, the entire convoy was forced to stop. Engineers had to run precise calculations and adjust the angle step by step before the vehicle could inch forward. Uphill stretches posed an even greater challenge. The original engines were not enough, and even with 1,800 total horsepower, the tractor's wheels spun helplessly, unable to pull the colossal load. Its weight was simply unimaginable. In the end, after countless adjustments and coordinated teamwork, the angle was corrected, the transporter lurched back into motion, and finally conquered the steep slope. After 3 long nights of crawling progress, the magnet reached its destination. Have you ever seen a magnet this huge in your life? Number 3, the U.S. Bullion Depository. Deep in a military base in Kentucky lies the most famous gold vault in the world, Fort Knox. Covering more than 10,000 square meters, it houses 4,600 tons of gold, representing over 56% of America's reserves, valued at more than $420 billion. It isn't just US gold. Inside nations like Germany, France, and Italy also store their bullion here. Fort Knox can rightly be called the global center of gold storage. But the security of this place is beyond imagination. For anyone dreaming of stealing gold from here, the odds are 99.9% impossible. Fort Knox once housed an entire armored infantry regiment, 23,000 soldiers, and more than 300 main battle tanks. That force, by default, became the vault's security detail. The fortress itself is equally formidable. It is surrounded by 2 layers of reinforced walls, topped with electrified fencing and endless surveillance systems. Beyond that lies a vast minefield every step, a potential explosion. Sniper nests are stationed around the perimeter with 24/7 precision aim. Who could possibly survive such defenses? Even the windows are fake. And at night, special lighting makes the entire complex seem to vanish, making a stealth approach impossible. Inside, the granite and concrete walls are impenetrable, and every vault door requires 3 keys to open. The main vault lies underground, sealed by a 20-ton steel door half a meter thick. To unlock it requires a code known only to select officials of the U.S. Treasury Department. Behind that door lie rows of small chambers, each filled with gold bars. Though they appear ordinary, they are riddled with hidden security systems. Even James Bond would have to shake his head in defeat. In fact, throughout history, only 2 US presidents, Roosevelt and Truman, were ever granted entry. Now you understand why these gold bars are considered the hardest things on Earth to transport. Yet rumors persist that the vault may already be empty. When Germany requested to inspect its stored gold, the request was denied, with officials claiming no access. Clearly, Fort Knox still hides secrets the world may never uncover. Number 2, space debris. Did you know that the largest junkyard in human history is right above our heads? Since 1957, when the Soviet Union launched the first artificial satellite, humanity has been creating trash in orbit. By 1993, there were already 7,700 pieces of debris. By 2024, that number had exploded to 45,000. Together, they weigh more than 3,000 tons, encircling the Earth in a dangerous cloud. This debris not only pollutes outer space, but also threatens humanity's ability to explore it further. Experts warn that if we don't begin cleaning up soon, in the future, humanity might never be able to venture into space again. These pieces of space debris are mostly retired satellites, orbital fragments, and even astronauts' discarded waste. Many people may wonder, with so much junk, why not just bring it all back to Earth? But in truth, this would be the most difficult transport mission in human history. After all, humanity already uses all its strength just to reach space, let alone to haul trash back down. Faced with this ever-growing cloud of debris, we are almost helpless. For now, the only path forward is to develop new technology for clearing it away. Some scientists suggest pushing debris into the atmosphere to burn up on re-entry, but so far, such methods remain beyond our reach. So, if it were up to you, how would you deal with this cosmic garbage? Number 1, bodies on Mount Everest. This map shows the number of deaths on Everest, with each red flag marking a fallen climber. The denser the flags, the greater the number of lives lost. Current data shows more than 300 bodies remain on the mountain. The majestic Mount Everest has become, in truth, a human graveyard. Even more shocking is that recovering a single body from Everest can cost as much as $200,000. Why? Because the mountain offers no protection, no easy access. Ordinary people cannot even reach the summit, let alone carry a corpse down. Only specialized teams can attempt it, bringing the dead from the peak back to the base to return them to their families. But the task is nearly impossible. Even professional crews cannot guarantee success. It depends entirely on luck, especially those who collapse just a few hundred meters from the top, lying in the snow and ice. Climbers passing by can only sigh in sorrow. The extreme cold and thin air instantly crush a person's willpower. One wrong step on the steep slopes means certain death. That final stretch to the summit is called the death zone. Even seasoned professionals hesitate to tread there, much less with the weight of a lifeless body on their backs. In 1993, the famous climber George Mallory fell just 240 meters short of the peak. Fierce winds howled, visibility was near zero, and no one dared approach. His body lay buried in snow and ice until it was discovered in 1999 after more than 70 years of slumber. And even then, no team dared to carry him down. The price was too high and the danger too great. The bodies that remain on Everest are silent reminders. Nature must always be respected. Life must be cherished. Never risk it all for the sake of pushing limits, or you may pay with the one thing you cannot replace. These are the 10 hardest things in the world to transport. Which one do you think is the most difficult? Leave your answer in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Global Wonders brings you new stories every day. See you tomorrow.